Thank you for coming. The NRL Integrity Unit has completed its investigation into the incident in Arizona involving the two South Sydney players. We looked at this matter again when we became aware that a payment had been made to the security officer involved in the incident. Our investigation concluded that while the Souths Club met its obligations to advise the Integrity Unit about the incident, it did not follow the matter to its conclusion and should have been more diligent in understanding whether a payment had been made. The Integrity Unit was not informed about the payment made to the security officer, which led to the matter being dropped. We have therefore determined that Souths will be fined $20,000. Our finding is that the disciplinary action already taken against the two players involved is sufficient. There is no evidence to prove that any Souths official, including its then CEO Shane Richardson, knew about the payment. I'll now take questions.
You mentioned that South Sydney had met their obligation, had failed to meet their obligations. Had the Integrity Unit failed to meet its obligations by investigating the incident?
It would be fair to say that the Integrity Unit has learnt lessons out of this incident as well and will be improving its processes.
What are the new processes?
We will be working with the clubs over the coming week to look at how we can improve the rules and guidelines for the clubs.
Is the investigation in a situation like this a phone call to the police over there? Is that not just something that should have happened, could happen, will happen?
When we share the updated rules and guidelines, we can look at what specifics are required to address and close any gaps.
So how's the investigation process at the moment been working in the past? Is it just a matter of asking the clubs what have you done and then you're satisfied, or is there an investigation?
We rely on the clubs to provide full and transparent information to us and also make our own investigations.
And will that be changing?
It will depend on the incidents, but we will work with the clubs to provide more guidance on future investigations.
Have you lost faith in the club's ability to be truthful after this incident?
No, I have not.
Has there been too much faith in clubs?
No, I think the NRL Integrity Unit has to rely on the clubs to provide full and frank information in relation to any investigation.
Did you get to speak to the security guard? Did he shed any further light on this?
No, the security guard declined to speak with us. He was subject to a confidentiality agreement.
With who with?
With the player.
So that means that players and clubs could do confidentiality agreements with anyone they want and you'll never find anything out?
So in relation to this incident, the agreement that they entered into is a legal agreement that is allowed under Arizona law.
We have, everyone understands that, but this is an agreement that was entered into that the NRL Integrity Unit didn't know about, the Souths didn't follow up properly. This whole incident has to be seen as nothing but an utter embarrassment by an Integrity Unit which only last year was unable to finish off an investigation into possible salary cap rorts by the Brisbane Broncos because an employee had left the game. Like, surely you are dealing with nothing but a toothless tiger in the Integrity Unit.
We are looking at systems and processes that we can improve within the Integrity Unit, and we'll be doing so.
But Suzanne, it's not that complex. It was a phone call which we were all able to make and an $8 search on the internet.
And we were not made aware in relation to that payment.
Nor was the media. The media wasn't made aware either.
And had we been aware of that, we would have followed through at the time.
But how do we know how to do it and four full-time professionals don't?
As I've said, we will look at the systems and the processes in relation to the incident. We are looking at that at the moment, and we will improve our processes as required.
How would you rate the Integrity Unit handling of it?
I think there are lessons that, as I have already said, there are lessons that we can learn from this, and we will improve.
Suzanne, the players don't get any further punishment, but do you think it's correct that they make a payment to silence someone, a key witness in this?
In relation to this, the payment that was made, a misdemeanor compromise payment, is lawful under Arizona law.
What about under the NRL's rules?
If we had been made aware that the payment had been made at the time, there would have potentially been a different outcome. But as I said, we weren't made aware of the payment at the time.
How much damage do you feel the code suffered as a result of this?
Well, clearly it's not something that you would wish to happen, and as I have said, we need to make sure that we're made aware in the future, and we will be improving our processes and our systems to ensure that that is the case.
So if we accept that the players brought the game into disrepute, how come they're not missing any games?
We have determined that the penalties imposed on the players are sufficient.
Mitchell Pearce missed a game for a very similar incident last year, though. Do you think that's slightly inconsistent?
As I have said, we've determined that the penalties imposed, the disciplinary action imposed on the players is sufficient in this case.
Do you look at precedents like the one that James has just suggested when determining a penalty to ensure consistency?
Yes, I do ask for precedents in relation to incidents, and also we are looking at ways that we can improve our systems and processes so that we can be more consistent going forward.
Last year, the Integrity Unit was unable to complete an investigation into the Brisbane Broncos salary cap rorting because an employee implicated in that had left the game. Were you happy that the Broncos then invited that employee to their season launch last Friday night?
I am unaware of that incident and unaware that he had been invited.
Sydney clubs today had their NRL press conferences to bring on the season, and now we're talking about this. The media is getting a bit of a rap for bringing this story to light, but really it's you guys who are now keeping this on the front pages of the papers rather than the actual game.
And if we didn't advise you of this, I think we would get a rap as well. So we're disclosing this through a press announcement today and me doing a doorstop interview.
So the one piece of the narrative that hasn't been complete, were the two players able to come home until the charges were dropped?
The players were allowed to return to Australia, and they, in December, were on a teleconference which was called a pre-trial conference.
Has the NRL asked how much money was paid?
The NRL is aware of the confidential agreement, and that includes the amount of the payment, which we won't disclose because it's confidential.
Are there any repercussions for Luke for not informing the club or informing the NRL?
As I have said, we found that the disciplinary action taken on the players is sufficient.
Is there a possibility of a more transparent system with the Integrity Unit, one that we get to know who you're investigating ahead of time? Maybe you could even assist in the process?
Well, I think that you would hope that there would be a presumption of innocence in respect of any incidents, and that they need to be thoroughly investigated. As I said, we are looking at our systems and processes, and we'll be working with the clubs to help support guidelines and rules that will make it easier for clubs to understand and for us to do our duties.
How do you explain South Sydney being fined $20,000, yet the person in charge of the organisation at the time being cleared?
There is no evidence to show that Shane Richardson, or who was the CEO at the time, or any other South official was aware of the payment.
So why were they fined then? They were fined for not finding out about the payment?
Correct. So they should have made further inquiries in relation to whether a payment had been made.
So you believe the lawyer was acting on his own, acting as like a rogue agent without any instruction from South Sydney, without any knowledge? Is that what you believe?
I believe that the player worked with his agent.
So therefore, Shane Richardson at the very least has been derelict in his duty as a CEO not to find that out.
I think that in this situation, we can all look at what lessons we can learn from this incident and how it was investigated, and we will take steps to improve.
If this was a simple matter of a couple of guys over in Arizona and this payment being easily found out by members of the media, are you confident the Integrity Unit has the wherewithal to handle the complexities of an investigation into what's happened with the Gold Coast Titans in 2014?
Yes, I have full confidence in the Integrity Unit and will continue to work with them to support their investigations.
So last question. You keep mentioning processes, Suzanne, but what are they actually going to be to ensure that this sort of stuff doesn't happen again?
As I mentioned, we're looking at how we can improve the rules and hope to make a statement in relation to that later this week. or early next week, and also to work with the clubs to give them more guidance in relation to these sorts of matters. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.